most people will not really understand unless they've been where we are. And that's the loneliness around obesity. The stigma that surrounds obesity is that we're just lazy people. We're just weak people. We're not lazy. We're not weak. We face challenges that other people never have to face. Ever. Welcome to this week's Keep It Off podcast with me, Mel Harris. I am going to address an issue that only you and I can relate to. It's an issue that most people will not really understand unless they've been where we are. And that's the loneliness around obesity, the fact that people that have never been obese will never know what it's like. The stigma that surrounds obesity is that we're just lazy people and we're just weak people. And that is absolutely not true. That is not the case at all. We are not weak and we're not lazy. Of course, you're going to find people in the world that are, but, I'm talking generally speaking. What we are is people that are struggling with a broken metabolism, which I'll go into in a minute. People who have constant internal dialogues with food. People that have never been obese could very flippantly, and often do, say to us, just say no. Why don't you just say no? Or why don't you just stop eating it? If only it was that simple. If only they knew what it was like to literally be hounded by the thought of food all day, every day. It's a weird thing how people that have never been an alcoholic can understand how an alcoholic can't help themselves without intervention. They think about alcohol all day long. They think only about where they're going to get their next drink from. Well, addiction is addiction is addiction. And we go through the exact same thing. We cannot say no. We have to learn how to say no. And it's that kind of disconnect from people that have never been obese that makes us feel very lonely sometimes. It makes us feel that people just don't understand. And on the whole, we're right. They don't understand. And therefore, when we struggle, they're not particularly sympathetic or helpful. They're certainly not helpful. The comments that they make are very unhelpful. I remember many years ago, and you've probably heard this before, I've probably told you before, or it's certainly on my website, where I was out for dinner with the family. My brother wasn't married at the time. He was going out with a previous girlfriend. And when it came to desserts, I desperately wanted to order a tiramisu. Desperately. She just turned to me and said, "But Mel, you know what it tastes like. You've had it before. Why do you need it now?" I've never forgotten her saying that to me. Because she was right. I did know what it tasted like. And yes, I have had it before. But I didn't want it. I needed it. It was like, I have to have some tiramisu. I've seen it on the menu and I have to have it. It was like some kind of gravitational pull. I think we will always struggle with those internal conversations, those internal needs. But it would be nice if we could somehow let people know that obesity is a disease and an addiction rolled into one. It isn't easy for us to just say no, to just go on a diet. For those of you who know me know how I feel about diets per se. If it was, there would be no obesity. If everybody in the world could just say no, there would be no such thing, no disease called obesity. If alcoholics could just say, "No thanks, I don't want another drink," there would be no alcoholism. The same with drugs, the same with smoking cigarettes, the same with people that shop too much. When I say too much, I just mean obsessively, normally shopping when they can't afford to shop. Addiction comes in all shapes and forms. And the point about it is we feel like we are not in control. That's different to feeling out of control. Saying out of control would kind of conjure up an image of some kind of mania. And that's not what I mean. I mean that we don't feel like we actually have that control that we need. That's quite a big realization, because when you feel that you don't have the control for such a long time, for many, many, many years, you behave in a way that can accommodate that feeling of not being in control. What do I mean by that? If Joe Public sit down for a meal, they've eaten their quota, they feel full up, and somebody says, do you want a coffee? No, I'm full up. Or do you want to do that? No, thanks, I've had enough. If we go out for a meal, we are faced with being judged around the dinner table. My goodness, everybody's looking at me. Why are you eating that? Why did you choose that? Why have you eaten so much of it? All that kind of stuff. That in itself certainly presented me, and I know it presents a lot of you as well, with the guilt and the shame that makes us want to eat in the first place, makes us try to comfort ourselves in the first place, and we use food to do that. So because we know, we've learned from many years that we will get to a point in the meal where we'll be feeling conscious of other people watching us, or aware that we're starting to feel a bit guilty or anxious, or even that, yes, I'm full up, but I'm not satisfied feeling, which is the one that we don't feel we can control. We're not likely in front of other people to keep eating more, because more doesn't necessarily just mean have a coffee or a dessert. More in that situation means, well, I would like that meal all over again now. I really enjoyed it. I'd like it again. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know what I used to do to prepare for that. I'd eat a whole meal before I go out for dinner. And I'm talking about going down to McDonald's or KFC or anywhere that would sell me fast, takeaway, stodgy, high-fat, low nutritious food that would fill me up enough so that when I went out for a meal with my friends or family, I could stop at the right point without beating myself up, without agonizing over, I want something else, I want something else. Nobody ever knew that. I would never, ever have let on that I had done that. But that was a regular occurrence. Think about that for a minute. Going out for a meal before you go out for a meal. Immediately before you go out for a meal. I don't think anyone who's never had obesity would be able to get their head around that. It would never occur to anybody to literally have a meal before they have a meal, simply to make sure effectively that they don't make a spectacle of themselves when they're out with friends and family. Effectively, that's kind of what I'm saying, right? It's interesting. Very often I will clean my place before a cleaner comes in. And everybody thinks I'm mad in doing it. I'm not actually cleaning my place, but I am putting everything away, tidying up so that she can get in and clean. Not that my house is ever in a mess, to be honest with you. I'm a bit OCD in that respect. But it's a very similar principle. I have to get something ready for the next stage. In my work, everything has to be perfect. If I'm doing social media, the reel has to be perfect before I post it. If I'm doing a blog, same thing applies. When I first started doing podcasts, I wouldn't dream of just sitting and chatting with you. I needed a script. I needed to know what I was talking about. I needed it all prepared and rehearsed down to the last comma. There's a very similar pattern that you can see in the way my mind works. The point is, if I want to perfect my reels before I post them, the chances are I'll never post them. If I want to make sure my blogs are perfect, I will keep changing them in an effort to make them perfect. And by the time they're ready for posting, the moment will have passed. Life will pass us by. And so for me, I had to learn very quickly that You can't prepare for every adventure. And what you need to do instead is learn how to deal with things when they don't go the way you want. For me, when I was eating a meal, and this is what I want to encourage all of you to do, because this is definitely one of the biggest things that has helped me personally keep my weight off for as long as I have. When you get to the end of a meal and you still want more, have an internal conversation with yourself. Listen to the two little people on your shoulders. One of them telling you, that was really nice, but I don't feel satisfied yet. I need to have more. And the other one who says to you, Mel, it's not possible that you need more. It's physically impossible. Your stomach is of a certain size. Doesn't matter who we are. We have very small stomachs. They're not huge. You've just put food into your stomach. It hasn't had time to digest. It hasn't had time yet to pass through. Therefore, physically, your stomach is full up. You cannot possibly want more food right now. Shut up and ignore yourself. Give your brain time to process the fact that the stomach has sent a signal to the brain that says, I'm full up. Once you've gone to a stage of, oh my God, I'm so full up I could burst, you've gone too far. So what I want all of you to take away from this is one simple thing. You are experiencing something that most people never experience and won't understand. But it doesn't mean that you can't learn how to handle it. And if that means talking to yourself, then talk to yourself. Normally I say talk to yourself out loud because the brain processes its reaction to a voice that comes from outside your head differently to the way it processes the voice inside your head. But I admit you're going to be in company and it's not going to be easy if you to suddenly have a conversation with yourself. Even if you go to the loo and do it, it's not really appropriate. So talk to yourself inside your head. It's better than nothing. Rationalize the situation you're in. You're not going to get help from anywhere else. Nobody understands that pull of wanting more when we don't need more. There's a massive difference between want and need. Yes, I wanted that tiramisu, but I didn't need that tiramisu. I had already eaten a full meal. But the pull from a want is always going to be much, much stronger for you and me than need. A need makes no demands off of us. If you don't need anything, it's not going to demand something from you. But when you want something, my goodness, you won't think about anything else. And it doesn't matter if you just want a new pair of trainers. It's like you won't be able to think about anything else other than that new pair of trainers. And when we say to ourselves, I can't think about anything else, the reality of what's happening is your brain is not allowing you to think about anything else. It is going to keep sending you that thought over and over and over again until you are satisfied by that thought, because that's how the brain protects us. And in the past, an obese person's brain has protected us by keeping us at a certain weight, because that's what we've been used to and that's where we feel safe. And our brain's job is to protect us. The metabolism, on the other hand, is a very different thing. I mentioned that we suffer with a broken metabolism, and I did an episode with Shaw Summers a few weeks ago now, and he explained it very, very clearly. If you so much as put on 2 stone in weight, the metabolism breaks. You've only got to put on 2 stone in weight in order for your metabolism to break. And that means you will be unable to make the choices and the decisions that most people find very easy to make. Metabolism isn't just about the digestive system and your appetite. It's everything from the way we taste food, the way we think about food, the way we process food, the way our stomachs turn it into acid and send it to all the right places, and the way our bodies get rid of all the stuff we don't need. It's massive. But because part of our metabolism is our thought process, our thoughts feed that metabolism. Once that's broken, you can't get a sticky plaster and fix it. You have to learn how to deal with an adjusted metabolism. Now, if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, why not go back and listen to the episode in which Shaw goes into that in great detail? Because it's really useful to really understand what is actually happening inside our bodies. We're not lazy. We're not weak. We face challenges that other people never have to face. Ever. I'm Mel Harris. I hope I've helped you, and I really also hope that you can do your best not to have something that you don't need after you've eaten a meal. See you next time.